All right, how y'all doing out there today? Welcome to the Guru's Rant. I'm back. Now we're getting ready for the early NFL season. Summertime's approaching along with the Olympics. So here we go. And I've been off for a while, just like everyone else, just taking care of business, kind of getting ready and geared up for this NFL season that we're all excited about. You will get no better information than you will right here on Guru's Rant, the Bay Area's best, hottest new YouTube show. Eventually, we will go worldwide and nationwide, and people will see that the news and information is here. It's raw and uncut. Uh, we try to leave politics out of it and stick true to the game. However, we are dealing with the social environment. But today's topics are going to be exciting because we're talking NFL, we're talking NBA, and we're talking a little bit of history. I always like to cover a little bit of history when it comes to the NFL because I think it's important for people and fans out there to not only love the game, but know the history of the game, know the players, know the coaches who come before you. Maybe this will be your dream one day. And information like this is very helpful. It's never damaging. Like anything, information is resourceful. Okay. So we're going to start out there, and I just want to give a shout out to all all the people out there who are watching. Doesn't matter. As of right now, I don't see anyone. But if I do have one person, oh, I see one person. That makes a difference. I have an audience of one. And even if it's not, which I do appreciate, I'm just going to give this information. Maybe you're busy at the time and you just don't really want to hear what I have to say. It's okay. I'm going to give it to you anyway. So we're going to start with teams. There are 9 teams out there who really need to come out of the blocks well, and each team that I'm going to talk about, there's different circumstances. And I'm just going to shoot 9 of them right off the back, like the New York Giants, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Carolina Panthers, the San Francisco 49ers. Yes, that's right, the 49ers. The Jets, the Panthers, the Dolphins, and Atlanta. And again, like I said, they're all for different reasons. But this season is going to be particularly eye-opening because what it's going to do is it's going to expose some people, good or bad. And what I mean by that is, for instance, coaching ability. Is there going to be good coaching? Can you get your team to perform at a level to where they believe in you to the point where they'll run through a wall for you? That's coaching. And when your team is below 500 and they're not doing that, you have to question the coach or the player. Normally, they like to blame it on the player. All right. And that's why it's good to have information portals and sports shows like myself, because I will not let that information hide. We'll start with the Cincinnati Bengals and Zach Taylor, right? Now, I'll tell you the reason he needs to get out the gate. He has a 6-25-1 record. That's abysmal. Now, he was a quarterback's coach on Sean McVay's offense. He actually he was the offensive coordinator for 5 games with the Miami Dolphins when his father-in-law, Mike Sherman, appointed him offensive coordinator. Now, in those 5 games, he went 2-3, and the offense averaged 17 points a game. So you judge for yourself. And that was way before he got the job with the Rams. It just seems to be who you know, right? Well, with that being said, 6-25-1, that's worse than David Shula. And like I said, at least he had the late Don Shula's son. At least he had double-digit wins. And listen, Zach Taylor has the talent. He's loaded at receiver. He has a great young quarterback. He has a running game. It's all about that leadership. I think Mike Lombardi, former GM, longtime GM, said he had no business being the coach. He said he has no business being the coach of uh, University of Cincinnati, where he was offense coordinator for a little bit. So, you dumb yourself down when you go from Marvin Lewis. Are you kidding me? You go from Marvin Lewis to Zach Taylor. Think about it. Now, don't drink this juice that the mainstream media is giving you with these coaches. I'm telling you, this guy does not belong in the NFL unless he's passing out water or taking some notes for a coach. He has no business leading these guys. They don't believe in him, and it shows. Number 2 team I'm going to get into, the New York Jets. Everyone wants to believe that, hey, they got their quarterback. Let me tell you, it's going to be a disaster up in Florham Park, New York. That's right. The Jets are going to be a disaster. I mean, this is a wanting desire to have this young man be the face of your franchise at quarterback out of BYU. This guy, I'm telling you, as the guru, he wasn't even in the third round on my board. Keep in mind, I had Baker Mayfield in the 5th round on my board. He went number 1 overall, but that's for another day. We're not going to get into that. But that's why I say the Jets, that's a team that, listen, you can bring in Robert Saleh. You can bring in Mike LaFleur, who's the brother of Matt LaFleur, who happens to be the head coach of the Green Bay Packers, who, by the way, before the Green Bay Packers job, Matt LaFleur had the 27th ranked offense, and they didn't make the playoffs with the Titans until he left. I just want to throw that out there, but that's another story. They bring on his brother, right? So, like, other teams don't know what Mike LaFleur likes to run, and you're going to bring this kid in. Listen, it's going to be a disaster. So we're going to move on from that. All right, the Dolphins. Let's go ahead and go on the tour, since everyone says, he's that guy. I know a friend of mine who I spoke to on video a few days ago. He swears by this guy, Baby Alabama. Well, we'll see what he does this year, because I don't think he has it. And people don't need to be blinded by what they saw last season. A lot of that had to do with Ryan Fitzpatrick saving him, Very few left-handed quarterbacks are successful in the NFL. Boomer Esiason, Steve Young, he was really good with it. And there's a couple other ones, and when I remember their names, I'll get them to you. But there aren't very many. That's the point I'm trying to make. And I don't see him being one. Yes, I know they do have talent. But I believe they made the mistake by not drafting Justin Herbert. You get caught up in that Alabama mystique, But hey, who knows? He might prove me wrong. But all I have to say is he looks a little small back there in the pocket, and on top of that, hasn't shown anything to me where he passes the guru eye test, the quarterback eye test. All right, so we're going to move on. That's another team that I feel, they need to get out the blocks, but I think they're not going to be in the mix. The Carolina Panthers, Matt Rule. Hell, you were 5-11 last year. If you can't win with Teddy Bridgewater, how the hell do you expect to win with this quarterback you have now from the Jets? Again, this is another wanting desire to have this guy to be the face of your franchise, who was the 34th, I believe, worst quarterback rating. But people seem to think that you are a genius because you did a little bit of work at Baylor and you did a little bit of work at Temple. And now you've been exposed. You try to throw Teddy Bridgewater under the bus by getting rid of him. But guess what happens? Teddy Bridgewater calls you out, says you don't even know how to run an NFL 2-minute drill. We don't even practice it. So there you go. You can look at that for what it was, but they have to get out of the blocks, Carolina. And he has to prove, along with Joe Brady, who I believe had a couple NFL coaching gigs, he needs to also. He's on, he came from LSU when LSU had that Star Wars season, okay, of putting up, all those numbers with those receivers in 2020 or 2019. So Carolina has a lot to prove. I see them as going nowhere. I don't care with McCaffrey or not, who, by the way, Teddy Bridgewater didn't have after the first game of the season. So you can take what you want from that. Okay, who else is on this list? The Atlanta Falcons. I mean, listen, Julio Jones. You're trading Julio Jones. Oh, listen, if you're a receiver like Julio Jones, your body's in the kind of shape it's in. All you have to do is be healthy. He's still the best receiver who was on that Atlanta Falcons squad. His presence did make a difference despite his injuries in that losing season. Matt Ryan was the problem. So there you go with that. That's another team that's going to fall on their face. All right. The San Francisco 49ers. Okay, let's get rid of this genius thing with Kyle Shanahan, because a lot of people thinks that he's this boy wonder genius. And if you believe the mainstream media, of course you would, right? They're going to paint that beautiful picture. Oh my gosh, he has such a mind. He's so cerebral. He can just dial up plays, you know. Do you know what Kyle Shanahan's record is? He has a 29 and 35 regular season record. Now I know you're going to say, well, he went to the Super Bowl with a stacked team, mind you, on offense and defense, and still blew it. Okay, but we're not going to touch that. Yeah, he went to a Super Bowl. What was his record before he got Jimmy Garoppolo? Yeah, he was about to lose his job. And then Jimmy, no, granted, fragile Jimmy, when he's not winning, when he's on the field, they win. He's very productive. But when he's not, it exposes Kyle Shanahan. This is a man who has directed 2 offenses in the Super Bowl and blew epic blunder leads, could not finish it. So I would get rid of that genius label with him. He was smart enough to go out and get a quarterback, which he should have done. He went out and got Trey Lance, who I scouted myself last year when no one else was talking about him. Not this Zach guy from for the Jets. I scouted him, Trey Lance. Okay? I scouted the quarterback for the Minnesota Vikings that just got drafted as well. I felt like Kellen Mond, that's his name. I felt like he should have easily been in the first round. And you'll see why later. He'll be pushing for that job. Luckily, Kirk Cousins has a guaranteed contract. But, he might pull a Russell Wilson and perform because that guy can play. All right, so you have one more team on that list, or 2, should I say. New York Giants. You have pieces. You got Kenny Galladay. You got O.J. Howard at tight end. You have Saquon Barkley at running back. Oh, who's the question mark? Is it your quarterback? Oh, I believe so. Now, don't get me wrong. He's got some wheels on him. He went to Duke. He has some intelligence. And listen, I'm not rooting against the guy. I want to see what he has. I believe that he was drafted a little too high. He does have a skill set, but it seemed like he has a lot of happy feet. He loses more fun. He's led the league in fumbles since he's been starting. So I kind of question the fact, yeah, maybe he was drafted too high. I think Dwayne Haskins probably should have been drafted ahead of him, and Dwayne Haskins got a raw deal, but that's another story. So that's another team that I feel like is not going to do well. Now we're going to the final team, the Rams. Now, this is for a different reason, all right? I know people are going to say I'm crazy, and that's why I do these shows, so you know that I am the guru, all right? The Rams, they have Matthew Stafford, Robert Woods at receiver. They're just loaded. Whitworth at tackle, Jalen Ramsey, Aaron Donald. I mean, they are the linebackers. I mean, I can just go on. But who's that one guy that everyone swears by? Everybody swears by him. Who is he? His name is Matthew Stafford. I swear, people I speak to, and I know I have shows where I've talked about this. And listen, I don't wish anything bad on Matthew Stafford. I followed him at Georgia. And I say, listen, he has a great skill set. Throw the heck out of a ball. You know, reminds me of myself a little bit. I didn't have quite as much zip, but I could get it there. But I said he has fun. Like losing doesn't bother him as much. I just get that impression. You know, he's like, hey, if we win, cool. If we not, I know it's 11 of us on the field. It ain't all me. But, you know, as a quarterback who's given so much praise, and everyone's like, oh, they look at his stats. They, you know, if you compare his stats and Jameis Winston's stats, the first 5 years of their career, they're almost identical. Jameis Winston, they're trying to compare him. He's supposed to be in a quarterback duel, which I say it is a joke. He's not in a quarterback duel. Trust me. If we're going to debate whether the former number one overall pick who threw for 5,000 yards is in a quarterback battle with a guy who could not get a starting job anywhere else, nor anybody else wants for a starting quarterback, you got to be joking. So follow me on this path. That's not a quarterback battle, but let's get back to where I was talking about with the Rams. That quarterback, Matthew Stafford, 12 years in Detroit. 12 years. One Pro Bowl. That should tell you something. His best seasons were under Jim Caldwell. Out of all his coaches, he went 36-28 under Jim Caldwell. He had losing records all under the rest of them. That's another story. I know that Detroit's going to be in good hands this year. But this is going to say something about the Rams because, like I said, everyone's getting caught up in this genius label with Sean McVay, a la Zach Taylor to the Bengals. I bet you the Bengals regret ever signing him as their head coach. I bet you they're embarrassed as all get out. I'm not going to lie to you. They have to be. You have to be embarrassed when you replace a coach who went to 5 straight playoffs. And mind you, that is no small feat in Cincinnati. If you've been watching Cincinnati football as long as I have. But you think, oh, all of a sudden your offense is going to be Star Wars because this guy shared a bathroom stall and had a couple beers with Sean McVay. And he just drove your franchise off a cliff. He's 5'26". He's 6'25" 1. Zach Taylor for the Cincinnati Bengals is 6'25" 1. And I dare anyone to argue me that he has some talent as a head coach. I'm not the only one who said it. And I'm not even in a position I should be. Because I would have never hired him. And I wouldn't have gotten rid of Marvin Lewis. But that's for another story. I don't want to give you all the goods at once. I got a bag full. I got current and I have history. I'm going to give it to you. I'll mix it all in. Okay. So those are teams I'm going to talk about, right? You know, and as far as guys that need to like get their things together, we know who those players are. That'll be another segment, and those will be like players like Ezekiel Elliott, players that just really need to step up. I mean, players including on my team that need to step up. You know, Tyrone, our left tackle, I can't even remember his name. He's been absent so long. We pay him all his money, and he's never available. Tyrone Smith, USC product, number 77. See what Dak can do with him. Notice I didn't mention nothing about Zach. I don't have to. He's performed at a high level since day one, and he deserves every penny he gets. And I don't want to hear anyone saying, oh, he got his money, this or that. Look, he's going to earn every penny. Okay? Now, and since we get into this genius thing, I like to throw a little flashback. And I think this is important because we need to put it into context with a real coach. Versus today, it's like a joke. And I'm on the outside looking in because I have experienced the history of the NFL. I'm not saying I know it all, but I tend to be right most of the time. And when we talk about opportunities in the NFL and the style of playing the NFL, it does need to change. There are a lot of bad coaches in the NFL right now. And there are a lot of coaches who are not coaching right now who should be coaching in an NFL. And I'm not going to make this thing about culture because it's not. I'm just telling you, like Marvin Lewis, Jim Caldwell. Are you kidding me? Those guys aren't in the league. I can think of Rex Ryan. He's not in the league. These are guys who bring NFL to you. You know, these are real coaches. These are men that these men in the locker room follow. You get someone like Zach Taylor walking in the locker room, look like he just walked out of prep school. Okay, and you just kind of like snickering under your breath because you're like, what's this guy? What's his credentials? Okay, yeah, all right. But let's go a little bit about this genius label with the Shanahan family tree. All right, because it seems like opportunity can come, and most opportunities do come. 85% of it is from people that you know. That's how people get a lot of opportunities in life, period. If you know someone, you can get in at Google. If you know someone in Google, more than likely. I probably, ethnicity is not going to play a role if that person is vouching for you like that. You know, it's better if you are. So let's get to Mike Shanahan. And no, I didn't make a mistake. We're going to talk about this genius label that's been thrown to the Shanahans. And I know that my man Tito can appreciate this. If you're out there, Tito, my brother, I miss you. I love you. Can't wait to do a show with you guys again. But here's the thing with Shanahan. People don't remember. He started out with the Raiders. Okay. In 88, 89, and the 88 season, he was given that job, the same roster. Mike Shanahan. And then Art Shell was added to his staff. I think he was added to his staff in like 89. And Mike Shanahan resented it to the point where he told Art Shell to his face. He's like, look, nobody wants you here. I don't want you here. No one on the staff wants you here. The only one that wants you here is Al. And he went to Al, told him, look, he told me he really don't want me on his staff. So that led to his firing. With the Raiders. Now, a lot of people think, oh, he was with the Raiders, Shanahan, blah, blah, blah. Let's fast forward. Like Mike Shanahan, let's stay there for a second. Mike Shanahan, you know what his record was with the Raiders in the 88-89 season? It was 8-12. He went 8-12 with a roster that had Tim Brown, Steve Berline. It had talent. Trust me. Bo Jackson. It had talent. Guess what? So Art Shell takes over for the 1990-91 season. This is after they fired Mike Shanahan in the 88-89 season. I remember it like it was yesterday. Guess what? Art Shell goes. Guess what Art Shell's record is for the first go-around with the Raiders? His record is 19-9. 19-9 is Art Shell's record, the first go-around. Right? Okay. And now you have Shanahan just a year and a half before 8-12. So 8-12, Mike Shanahan, 19-9, Art Shell. Now, this is where it gets kind of blurry, and this is where they drink the juice, right? They pour a little something in the juice, right? And, people get warped, That'll do it to you when people keep feeding you this. And like I said, I'm going to give it to you real. Where people are blinded by is the fact that Mike Shanahan won 2 Super Bowls with the Denver Broncos. Never mind, he lucked up on Terrell Davis. He lucked up on him. Why? Because he was a 5th or 6th round pick. Those guys get cut every day. He was a running back at Georgia. Somebody should have known something. But the reason he had a bad draft grade because of his racist coach, who he had argument with uh, on Georgia campus because Terrell was hurt and tried to embarrass him in front of this function, and Terrell didn't like it. Terrell's from California, guys from the South, they might like take that. I'm not going to take it, but some guys will take, hey, from a coach. Terrell's from Southern California. You don't grab people like that and do that. And so that's why I think he got a bad grade. But back to what my whole point was. He won those two Super Bowls because he had a phenomenal running back. John Elway could still play, but let's face it, John Elway was pretty much done until Terrell came. 2,000-yard seasons. I mean, yeah, it's unfortunate his career was short, but had he not got hurt, that's where the Super Bowls came from. All right, because let me tell you why. After those two Super Bowls, right? Those two Super Bowls, 97 and 98, Mike Shanahan coached 14 more seasons in the NFL. And guess what? He only had one more playoff win after those two Super Bowls. Coach 14, and he was a disaster for the Washington football team and him and his son because people thought he was such a genius because of the running game of Terrell Davis and John Elway, and they had good pieces, but that running game did it. People think because of that he's a genius. He is not. He is not a genius. Do you want to know what Art Shell's overall record was with the Oakland Raiders? Art Shell's overall record was 54-36 or 54-38. Look it up. People lose sight of this. People lose sight of how great a coach he was. He was a good coach. Then he gets shut out for 12 more years after he gets fired the second time in 1994. Mind you, after going 9-7, he was fired after a 9-7 season. And his record was 54-36 to end. All right. Nope. So and I that blows me away. Let's talk about this for a second, because if Mike Shanahan is a genius, what is Art Shell? What is Art Shell? Ask yourself that. If Mike Shanahan is a genius, what is Art Shell? Mike Shanahan was after those two Super Bowls disguised him, and GMs got tired of paying him money. You ruined Donovan McNabb's career. You embarrassed him publicly, and you like the middle part of the game. Excuse me. This was a guy who went to 4 NFC Championship games, won one of them. And you said the mental aspect of the game, you wanted people to believe that it was your system. Now let's fast forward to your son, Kyle. Okay? This is where that genius label still comes on, this genius label. And I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to let you know the Rams aren't going to make the playoffs. And if anyone wants to challenge me on that, leave a comment. I said it. They're not. You know why? Because Matthew Stafford is not that guy. Sean McVay is just a coach. He's a solid coach. He's got a lot of talent. It shows you that they've put all their chips in the middle of the table. And they believe in, they're smelling their own, what? They're smelling their own poop, because Sean McVay is like, hey, that's Jared Goff. That wasn't me. He's stinking it up. My system up. You're going to see it get stunk up this year. You think that someone can just step in and do it, just like the Brooklyn Nets. Come on. It don't work like that, people. Continuity means something. Your desire and drive means something. It doesn't matter if you're getting surrounded by other pieces. That doesn't guarantee anything. Not a darn thing. So let's be careful when we talk about those records, because Mike Shanahan, go back and look. It's there. The information is there. These genius labels are there. That's why I said Zach Taylor. You going out for these young hotshot coaches. Meanwhile, you have people like Rex Ryan. You got Jim Caldwell on the sideline. You have Marvin Lewis on the sideline. Anybody who remembers the Bengals knows that they weren't even, they better not even think about the playoffs before the season started. They better not even have thought about it. They just better thought about getting their check and not getting their butts beat that bad, because that's what was happening. That's what was happening for years and years. And then you go get Zach Taylor. I remember Marshall Faulk said, he told him, do not draft me. And I'll say this as far as the Jets and their quarterback situation right now. If you was to tell me that they were going to draft this kid out of BYU, Zach Wilson, I would have said they are not drafting Zach Wilson. You will not put that voodoo on them. I mean, this guy played in the Mountain West. Keep that in mind. Now, I'm not saying talent doesn't come out of the Mountain West, but my goodness. Is this what we have? So that's my little NFL rant. That's a little bit of history I want to give you. Don't believe in this genius label. I've already told you the teams that I think that are going to be crap this year, that aren't going to be very good. And I'll say it again. That's the Giants, the Cincinnati Bengals, the Rams, the Carolina Panthers, and the San Francisco 49ers, and the Atlanta Falcons, and the Dolphins. Okay? And you can always go back to this episode and look to see that I've said that, because that's true. I want to give a shout out to Greg Clark, former 49er, who passed away last week at the age of 49. Stanford product, drafted in 1997, third round, 5 years with the 49ers. Actually caught 2 touchdowns in that playoff game against Green Bay, the game where Terrell Owens made that famous catch from Steve Young. It was CTE. That's all the information that was given, but we know that you don't die from CTE. Something leads to it. Something causes it. And the family gave no more detail. And I believe that this is another attempt for the NFL to hide the concussion protocol. And I don't mean to be a Deborah Downer, because this is just part of life, all right? And we're gonna discuss some of these things, and it's so these players cannot get the money that they deserve from the settlement that they made, right? And that's why it's still litigation. These players are, let's face it, football is not exactly great for your body. But I can tell you right now, if I had to do it all over again, I'm one of those ones that's going to sign up. I wish I had went further in my career and played in the NFL like I should have and could have. But that's another story. But, this CTE thing, they want to, people want to know. When Junior Seau drove off the cliff, people wanted to know. He didn't just drive off. He lived that time. But, this is serious. And, for the statement to just be given out that it was CTE related, this man had a successful Bay Area real estate platform going on. He stayed in the area. I guess he was from the area. Stanford grad, so he's educated. Had 2 kids, been married for 23 years. But keep in mind, 49 years old. I'm 50. Okay. And he's 49 years old, and you just know that he was a healthy guy except for this part of his body. I can't imagine, so I just wanted to point that out. He was a very serviceable tight end. He was mainly a blocking tight end. He caught 92 passes in 55 games for 909 yards. Just a solid professional, and my condolences go out to him and his family. Also, Ted Ginn Jr. called it a retirement. He says, adios, everyone. Former Bay Area 49er, former Dolphin, former Saint, former Bear. He was just former Panther. As a matter of fact, he had his best seasons with the Panthers. I think he caught like 130 passes and, about 9 or 10 touchdowns over those seasons that he was with them. And Cam Newton. Those were his 3-year stretch. I mean, he didn't quite live up to the number 9 pick, but if you really think about it, he did, because he was a really good return man, for the most part. He had blazing speed. I don't think he was the best route runner, but he could run deep, and that kept him in the league for a while. I think after he performed well at Carolina, that's what made the Saints want to sign him. The Saints got all they could out of him, and then he went to the Bears, and then he just called it a day this year. 14 years. I really appreciate your performance. Thank you, sir. Now, the Guru's picks for the NBA. Now, the series is 2-2, and I've been saying since the beginning of last season, after the bubble play, I said that the Phoenix Suns not only will be in the finals, but the Phoenix Suns will win the NBA championship. Yes, I did say that. And there's proof on previous shows. Listen, the series is tied 2-2, just the way I thought it would be. It seems like the Suns' offense, it's not as much space as there was before. Milwaukee has really tightened up their defense on them. They're able to defend the backboard very well. Listen to what I'm saying now, the backboard, not the rim, because they know where that ball's going to go. They're just swatting it. PJ Tucker just playing phenomenal defense. He's really wrenching up the pressure. And listen, Giannis is playing like he's supposed to be playing, and I'm so happy for him. He's really attacking the basket. I really like what I'm seeing out of him. Middleton, he's for the most part going to be there, and he is there. And that's going to be a lot to overcome for the Suns if Chris Paul continues to play the way he's been playing. I know he's been playing great for most of this playoff series, but like I've always said, and I told a buddy of mine that lives in Richmond, I said, in basketball, it's always about young legs. I don't care how good you are. If you don't have them legs, they're going to go on you. And Chris Paul has everything, but the season gets long, and the older you get, the slower you get. Them fast twitch muscle fibers aren't exactly working like they were when you were 30, 28, which is considered like peak prime years. So he's giving it everything he has. I just think that his legs got heavy on him and tired. And it'll be interesting to see in game 5 how he does. But if you want the Guru pick, it's going to be, I'm going to have to say it's going to be the Bucks by at least 4 in game 5. The Bucks seem to have their number on as far as what Phoenix wants to do on offense. And defensively, Milwaukee feels like they can impose their will. They know that they can't take as many uncontested threes because that's what Phoenix wants them to do, and they tightened that up later. They realize, okay, no, they want to give us to 3. So Giannis, no, go ahead and penetrate. And when he had to penetrate, he got to the line more, got Phoenix in foul trouble, really put pressure on Chris Paul by going at him offensively. They're just doing a really good job of really tightening the reins on the Suns. I still feel like the Suns in 7, but watch out, folks. Milwaukee is playing some really good basketball right now. The Suns are at home. The crowd is going to be behind them. The excitement is going to be in the air. But I can say this. Milwaukee smells blood in the water. They smell blood in the water. I can kind of sense that in their play and how they are right now. So I'm going to go with Milwaukee by 5. The spread's 4.5. I don't know what it is, but Milwaukee for the win. And that is it for the Guru's Rant. I want to thank everyone who turned in. I see I had a viewer. I have no viewers now. So anybody who checks this out in the rewatch, please feel free to view my content. Again, I appreciate anyone who views it because, I put this information out and it does line up with a lot of what you're going to be seeing. So when you listen to this, what you'll do is you'll say to yourself, I heard that. Well, someone said that was going to happen. I think with any YouTube channel out there, Credibility is going to be the biggest thing with my audience. And I know time is only going to tell as time goes on, but stay with these episodes and please listen to them. They will be really helpful to you, especially when you make your bets. I'm going to give you only the inside information. I want to thank you, my audience, for being there. And just I'm blessed when anyone does the rewatch. Stay safe out there. Bless you and your families. And I hope you have a great weekend. You will hear from me again Wednesday or Thursday of next week. I will be in Oxnard, California at the Cowboys summer spring practice there. They do it, I guess, for a month every year. So I will be doing a show from there, and I look forward to seeing you guys then. All right. This is the Guru's Rant. Over and out.